All of our relationships begin with the very first one. Human babies can't walk or run. They can't hunt or hide. They can't find food or shelter. But none of that matters because human infants know how to get other people to do all this for them. They smile once, and we're their slaves for life. For more than half a century, scientists have been studying how this happens, how children form bonds with their caregivers. The process is called attachment, and much of what we know about attachment comes from studies of children for whom the attachment process has gone terribly, painfully wrong. I went to West Bend, Wisconsin, to visit a family struggling with these problems. Jane McCormick is an elementary school teacher. Her husband, John, an attorney.
Yeah, it makes you cute. So cute. Wow.
They're parents to two adopted children. Alex is 13.
You're in trouble.
And Nadia is 11.
You all ready? You got everything you need?
Yeah.
Got your lock for your gym locker?
I already know the combination down.
Nadia and Alex are two disparate souls. They're so different in their personalities and in their view of the world. Nadia is such an outgoing child and is the life of the party.
Yay! Good job.
Everybody likes Nadia. You're one of the first ones. And Alex, it's been so difficult. Alex, listen to me.
I don't want to. You're not making sense.
If you're the first.
But no, just listen to what else.
Mama's saying, no, Mom's on the phone and she's saying save it for her. She wants to hear the whole story.
Yeah, but I want to tell you one more thing.
Yeah, but I'm on the phone.
I want to finish it.
He gets too close. He's in people's space and he doesn't recognize that. He's so focused on what he's trying to do that he cannot see what the other person is doing.
Well, this is my baby book. See this page right here? There's me.
The differences between Alex and Nadia became obvious to the McCormicks the first time they met them, in an orphanage in Western Siberia.
Within about an hour and a half of our arrival, a woman in a white uniform walked in with a baby in her arms, and we knew from the photograph we'd seen that that was our daughter, Nadia.
Nadia, Papa.
Nadia seemed very easygoing. She seemed comfortable with us.
Jane was holding her, and you're just looking at the child and the wonderment of it all. And of course, Alex came in and took one look at us and started screaming bloody murder.
They said that he was very high maintenance, that he was a restless baby was the way they described it. It was probably harder for the workers to attach to him because he was hard to comfort.
Nadia would come and sit with you and play with you and love to be held, and Alex, he would go sit off on his own.
Back in the United States, John and Jane kept trying to connect with Alex, but had little success.
We were up at the cabin and we were taking a walk, and I had gotten ahead with Nadia, and they were sitting on the trail. And Alex was sitting between Jane, and he bent over and then he lifted his head up quickly and hardly and took her right underneath the chin and about knocked her out. This is after they're walking down the trail holding hands. He had suddenly dawned on him, I don't want this care person.
One of the areas that he struggles with the most is the social interactions at school. He really wants to have relationships with kids, but he has a difficult time with boundaries. He very often is touching people when he shouldn't be touching, poking, hugging, and it seems difficult for him to recognize any social cues that they give back to him.
Did you have the sense you were going to be able to overcome the behavioral problems that you saw in Alex?
We had the sense that however long he'd been in the orphanage, he'll need that amount of time to adjust.
So at what point did you realize that's not how it was going to happen.
About 3 years. Went by the time he was 5. Tell me what you want me to know, because I know it was a rough ending to the day.
I just can't handle that.
Even after all the years of working on developing that bond, I still feel like I'm not sure he's accepted me as his mother.
I didn't really care.
It's terrible as a mom to know your child doesn't love you, will not bond with you. That's terrible.
We've looked for diagnoses that would help him. It seems like attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is quite common diagnosis. Childhood bipolar disorder also. So we thought, oh great, there's medication for that and he'll take the medication and everything will be fine. He actually was hospitalized at a psychiatric hospital when he was going into 3rd grade, I think it was, because the medication created even, increased effects. He was, at that young age, talking suicide, homicidal thoughts.
A breakthrough finally came when the McCormicks heard about a professor at the University of Wisconsin who was studying other Eastern European orphans with emotional problems just like Alex's.
You can go right in here, have a seat right over here.
When we talked with Alex about participating in this study, I felt that he would probably either be indifferent to it or that he would maybe not want to do it. And he amazed me.
There's going to be a lot more kids like me in the future, and I wanted people to know how to treat them perfectly. Like, not perfectly, but treat them better. Like, see, I had a harder life, but I want those other kids to have an easier life. Oops.
Dr. Seth Pollack, the psychologist behind this study, believes the problems that children like Alex face, problems relating to others, problems regulating their emotions, even problems interpreting other people's facial expressions, are the result of attachment gone wrong.
These are children being raised in ways that are just not typical for our species in terms of mass care, lack of that real interpersonal caregiving that one expects between a caregiver and a child.
For much of the 1990s, toddlers in Russian orphanages spent most of their time alone in a crib. Because the overworked nurses were each responsible for 15 to 20 children, they didn't have time to do more than feed the children and change their diapers. When the children cried, they were simply ignored.
The child is learning that other people are not there for you, that people won't protect you and comfort you, that if you want to be calmed, maybe you had better find a way to do it yourself. And if these are the basic building blocks that a child is starting to learn very early in life, then it becomes easy to see how that kind of learning experience will lead to social and emotional problems later.
Pollack's research builds on work that began in the 1940s when psychologists noticed that children who were raised in orphanages often developed emotional problems. Given that these children had all of their physical needs met, what exactly was it that they weren't getting? In a now famous experiment, psychologist Harry Harlow took newborn rhesus monkeys away from their mothers and allowed them to choose between two artificial mothers. One made of wire provided food but no comfort. The other, covered in cloth, provided some comfort but no food. Time and again, the baby monkeys chose the cloth mother over the wire mother, suggesting that even a little bit of soft comfort was more important to them than food.
And this simple, basic reaction made us believe that we could define and measure what had previously been undefinable and unmeasurable, the baby's love for its mother.
As the monkeys who'd been taken from their mothers grew up, Harlow noticed something else. The monkeys experienced a wide range of social and emotional problems, from aggressive outbursts to uncontrollable fear, all because they hadn't been loved. It was a dramatic experiment, in many ways an awful experiment. I've seen this film 100 times, and every time I see it, I think, my God, this is torture. But that was exactly Harlow's point. Harlow wanted to show that you could take care of a monkey's every physical need, but if you deprived it of love, you could destroy its life.
If not for that early research on monkeys and their need for love and comfort, I don't think we ever would have framed questions about why some of the children coming out of these institutions are having the kinds of problems that they did. The lesson that I think we've learned is that it's not just about food, shelter, water, that a basic need for human beings is love, is companionship, are close relationships.
Harlow's experiments showed that a failure to bond has dire consequences. But how exactly does this happen? Dr. Pollack believes the answer has something to do with a brain chemical called oxytocin, which researchers recently learned plays an important role in social relationships.
Oxytocin was identified as being a hormone that helps with the formation of attachments. That is a hormone that allows the brain to form close relationships and allows an individual to feel a sense of calm and comfort when close to somebody that they care for.
To investigate this hypothesis, Pollack tested two groups of 4-year-old children. One group raised by biological parents, and another made up of adopted children who'd spent an average of 16 months in an Eastern European orphanage.
Touch the face that shows how the little boy is feeling.
It looks like happy.
Both groups were asked to play a computer game. But the game wasn't the real point. What Pollack wanted to know was how the children responded to the comfort and care of their parent. Pollack measured the amount of oxytocin in the child's body before and after the test. Among children who were raised by their biological parents, oxytocin levels shot up. But the children who were raised in orphanages showed no oxytocin increase at all.
The kids with the early neglect never showed the oxytocin release even with their mom. So something that should have resulted in an increase in oxytocin, physical comforting from a parent, did not.
That's you. You choose one for mommy.
Choose one for me?
And put it on.
There are many reasons why children who've been neglected as babies find it hard to form secure relationships as adults. But Dr. Pollack's results seem to identify one of the biological mechanisms underlying the problem.
The key behind the oxytocin, and this is just my speculation, is it's about reward. Love could be a lot like a drug. It's something that we crave, and when we take it, it results in pleasurable, rewarding feelings. If being close to someone doesn't have that rewarding value, it's not going to have the same meaning. And so I think the big question to ask here is, when your early relationships have been disrupted, do social relationships have the same reward?
These studies suggest that a child's brain is, to some extent, molded by love. That we are, in a very real sense, wired to connect.
Family is above everything. It's above the individual. It's above independence. There's sort of a required self-sacrifice for the family.
I grew up in a very passionate family, a very loud family, lots of kids.
Because always people, what was it about your childhood that caused you to act like this? As much as I'd like to blame my parents, I can't do that.
There were two people there who are older than me, who gave me money and fed me. I'm sure they did love me, you know, but it wasn't like I'd come home, come here, Sonny, come here, ooh, I love you, you know, nothing like that.
But attachment doesn't just affect a child's biology. Attachment is a two-way street. And just as children's brains are changed by the presence of their parents, so too are parents' brains changed by the presence of their child. In a delivery room in Houston, Texas, the attachment process has already begun. Not once, but twice.
You got a buddy in there, huh?
Good job.
Shauna and Jeremy Jones are having twins.
Yeah, it's gonna be Donnie and David, the names of their grandfathers.
Grandsons.
Donnie, this is David.
Oh, there he is. Okay, buddy.
All right.
It's clear that no one has to tell Donnie and David how to reach out to their parents, and no one has to tell their parents how to respond.
Found your finger.
When David was 1 day old, he made a noise like, and I made a noise back to him, hey. And he made a noise back, and I made a noise back. We kind of went back and forth. It was kind of a really, I'll never forget that. It was our first conversation. What y'all doing hanging out?
Reciprocal interaction with children, we believe, is very important for child development. There is a feedback loop that's established when the parent says coos at a child and the child's able to coo back and the parent responds to that. The child has this feeling, I am being paid attention to.
It's like no other relationship with somebody that you meet, you're figuring them out, and this was just instantaneous. Just from the moment that they put them in my hands when they were born. There really aren't any words to describe that.
Right. There we go. Yay.
Babies are cute in a way that attracts adults. We have almost an innate reaction, a visceral response to seeing a beautiful baby face smile at us.
The subtle power of a baby's smile intrigues developmental pediatrician Lane Strathern. In a recent experiment, he set out to investigate what happens in a mother's brain when she sees her baby smile.
In our experiment, we wanted to look at what brain areas are activated and how it may differ when the baby's happy or sad.
Dr. Strathern brought 28 new mothers into his laboratory and videotaped their babies making a range of facial expressions.
Hey.
He then asked each mother to enter a magnetic resonance imaging chamber, and he monitored her brain activity as the images of her child were replayed. Strathern noticed something interesting. When a mother watched her child smile, certain parts of her brain were activated, the same parts that are activated when people think about food or sex.
These reward circuits give us the information that this is something that we need to pay attention to.
So the brain is saying, I am in the presence of something very important and potentially very good.
That's right. And I think when mothers see their baby, that's the signal that they need to hear. This baby is completely dependent on them, and they need to respond to those signals in order to optimize their baby's development.
This is nature's way of making sure that children are taken care of. But sometimes circumstances get in the way. Researchers now know that attachment can unfold in a variety of ways, some of which are much better than others. In central Pennsylvania, first-time mother Danielle Fife is eager to give her baby the best start she can in life. But the odds are stacked against her. She's single, living below the poverty line, and gets little help from family or friends.
I didn't really have support from anybody. I pretty much had myself. Having a baby changes your life completely, and I didn't realize that until it happened. The other day, Mackenzie colored her nose blue. It was funny though. I should have took a picture, but I didn't. My first thought of being a mom was, okay, am I ready for this? Am I financially ready? I don't really have a good job. I don't have a house. I'm not where I want to be in life yet to have a child. I thought how my mom was and how I don't want to be, I didn't want to be like that.
Hi, guys.
Over a year ago, before her daughter was born, Danielle turned to the Nurse Family Partnership. a pioneering program aimed at helping first-time low-income mothers develop parenting skills. Psychologist David Olds founded the program to make sure attachment unfolds in the best possible way.
I think that all of us, as human beings, are wired to protect our children, to nurture our children. And I think that it's important as we think about these issues to recognize that the survival of our species depends upon our being good parents.
And she's going to want to feed herself. Very important to let her do that, have that independence we want.
Dr. Olds has seen firsthand how daily stresses can easily overwhelm mothers like Danielle and lead to attachment problems.
Involve baby and imagination and rhythm games.
The things that lead to a secure attachment, nurturing, understanding, making the child feel cared for, can be taught. And this is the work of the Nurse-Family Partnership.
Whatever you start with her now at this age, and do it consistently, the same thing at about the same time every day.
Right.
She's going to start remembering that. What plays off of that then comes trust, because they know the same thing's going to happen every day at the same time.
Baker's man.
If parents accurately read their children's signals, the child is more likely to develop a sense of security, a sense of trust in the world, and that will lead the child to be what researchers refer to as being securely attached.
It's just nice to have someone tell you, okay, like this is what to expect. With like the little social skills and stuff, it's cool to see how your baby is developing. I mean, you go to the doctor, all they do is weigh them, measure them, say, oh, you're doing a great job, see you in, a month or two.
Does your baby stiffen?
We've tested the program in 3 separate scientifically controlled studies, found that the children were less likely to exhibit disruptions in their early emotional behavior. So these early emotional expressions have been affected by the intervention.
Have a good rest of the day. Oh, you too.
I didn't know anything about bringing up kids when I first had kids, but really nothing. I mean, I knew that there were 2 techniques. I knew that there was being a doormat, and I knew that there was severe punishment and real strictness, and I didn't like either of those things.
I feel I'm a pretty good father. I'm not spending every weekend, every hour of every weekend with them, but I don't think they want to spend that much time with me anyway. Did I want to be with my parents when I was 14, 12, 14? No, I wanted to avoid being with my parents.
I happen to have a lot of kids, like 6 kids and 2 marriages, and to see that, I mean, it's corny, but that miracle, it is amazing. And so it gives you good perspective, and I think it made me appreciate other stuff. For example, you're home with 2, 3, 4 kids, all of a sudden you're like, man, that tennis thing doesn't seem too hard.